I'm gonna start in a few minutes. I have a Windows update running in my second PC, so that takes a little bit of uh, my download bandwidth, so I don't want any kind of spikes from to the broadcast itself. So I'll start in 2-3 minutes. Yo man, nothing bad, nothing big really. Enjoying another boring Wednesday night. So I decided to make it a little bit less boring by giving some sort of a tutorial. I think I did a similar one. It's been just over a year ago. Um, yeah, just about over a year ago, and that was I was having a bit of trouble with my graphics card at the time, and also I didn't know I was not that aware of a few shortcut keys, which help making cameras quite a bit. Well, broadcasting and commentating is something that you really have to enjoy in order to successfully do so. If it's something you have to do, like like you're semi-forced uh, to do either, it's um, it you're you're at maximum. You're gonna do like one or two broadcasts or commentaries, and then you're gonna say like, I CBA, see you soon. So you really have to enjoy doing broadcasting or commentary in order for it to make it feasible for you to do. Even though even though it's free of charge or you charge something for doing it, it doesn't matter. Okay, I suppose we can start. So I'm gonna give you guys brief tutorial on how to make track cameras for iRacing. Creating car cameras is a bit different, but it's creating cameras for cars. Car specific cameras is much easier than doing cameras for tracks, because tracks on the camera cameras on track have different settings, where usually you can either make cameras that focus on the car, or static cameras, or both, or you can have behind the wall cameras. You have different obstacles in front of the camera, so you have to adjust different settings. But usually when you're making a car cameras, you don't have to adjust that much, or it's basically, the cars have very restricted camera access. You basically can't create that many cameras for, at least at the last time I did camera packs for cars, there was not that much you can do. Um, like you have the rear chase, I mean the front camera, rear camera, you have the roll bar, you have the gyroscopic camera, and then you have a cockpit camera, but that's pretty much it. So you're pretty much excluding the cockpit camera. When it comes to the cars, you can pretty much use any kind of basically you can make it point to whatever direction you wish, but track cameras have very different behavior. So what I'm gonna try to do camera pack for broadcast purposes. So what I would personally want as a viewer to see during broadcasting. So a lot of people have different views on how to do trackside cameras. Like last time I had so it was supposed to be all set camera pack from Mosport. I took the camera pack 5 minutes before the show, and at the time I actually got into the broadcast, I noticed that it was a horrifying piece of crap, because the cameras were basically made so that each camera is on for about 2 seconds, which is way too rapid. But that's someone's opinion about having proper trackside cameras, so that's their opinion. But as for like professional broadcasts, if you watch like Formula 1 broadcasts or Le Mans 24 hours or anything, or NASCAR, you don't see cameras flipping every 2 seconds. So what I'm going to try to do is Circuit of the Americas. I've actually never opened this track before in my PC, so I'll be doing the new camera pack for that track. So first I'm going to have to do a few laps around the track. There we go. I'm gonna have to do basically doing one full lap out of the pits would be sufficient, but the problem is you cannot you have after that you have problems setting up the main straight camera. So I'm gonna do 2 laps with a Corvette around this track, and I've never actually driven the full Grand Prix circuit before, so it's gonna be learning experience. It doesn't really matter what setup I'm using, as long as it passes the inspection. So, and it doesn't have to be the fastest lap in the world. All that basically required is that you stay as close to the normal racing line as possible. You can also do camera packs with loading replay files from a track and then creating from a replay pack. Whoa, that was steep. So but it depends on completely what you want to do. Having big replay files with grid full of cars is pretty heavy. Whoa, this setup is... Not only is my setup loose for this track, but my wheel is also not properly detached because I'm not trying to hot lap here. Yeah, like you see, I've never seen this track before, so staying in the track lines is what can you expect from Tilcadrome? But we're not here to practice on. We're not here to make tutorial on how to drive Corvette. We're here to try to do a camera pack. So 2 laps. I'm afraid to turn in with this car because the setup is so loose, but. Whoa, dude. These hairpins are steep. I'm yet to stay on track on any of the hairpins. What a Mickey Mouse piece of crap. Okay. I'm not gonna push wide. I'm not gonna push wide. I did. Care phase. This is one of the few Grand Prix tracks that I actually don't memorize at all. I've seen like one Formula 1 broadcast from this track, and it wasn't exactly the most exciting one, so I didn't even bother to learn the track layout. Okay, 1 full lap. Come on, I can do this. I can do this. I'm not gonna take an off track. I did. Wow, these hairpins are like... Yeah, it would help a bit if I had the slightest idea how the SS or the corners are gonna go. Wow, dude. At least I know when the Corvette series comes to Circuit of the Americas that I'm not going to... I'm not gonna participate in the Corvette. This track is horrifying with this car. So how good the laps are, it doesn't really matter. As long as I stick to the racing line, even near it. And like cutting a bit off track like this is not basically bad, because the camera has to cover, like if someone pushes wide in the exit or something, the camera needs to be in a position where it covers that area as well, so going off track is not exactly that bad. But still, it would be a bit more pleasant experience driving wise if I could be able to nail at least a somewhat proper lap. I'm gonna do one more just so I can stick with the within the lines. Bit better already. Almost full steering lock, and yet I had problems turning into the corner. Wow. I've yet to figure out that hairpin. Someone should seriously consider hanging Herman Tilke from his balls. Maybe someone would stop making this kind of tracks. Okay, so much for hot laps. There, that's sufficient. Okay, let's get into the cameras then. Okay, let's start from the main straight. Okay. So, first thing we have to do is open the camera options, which is Control F12, which then opens turns the splits window into camera group and configuration. Yeah, well, at least I'm not alone with my opinion then on hanging that guy. Someone really needs to do it. Okay, so there's basically a few options that we can use over here. First of all, we have usually iRacing provides 3 different TV camera packs all set. So you either have option to modify the existing cameras, or then you have the option to basically build completely your own camera pack. And well, I'm thinking about in between making my totally my own or editing the existing TV cams. You know what? I'll do my own completely. So in the camera menu, the camera menu itself is it shows the name of the camera on track. So the cameras are named in this group. The cameras are named camtv1 underscore, and then this equals the how many cameras are there on the track. So this is the 13th. So I assume this is the last one on the in the lap. Who is sending me messages? Yeah. Back to the topic. Then we have the offset values, which are basically not that important when you're making track cams, because you can adjust the position of the cameras without using these. I mean, I can click these and make the values change, but it's way too slow. So building a trackside cameras, you don't need any of these. It just shows the absolute coordinates of the cameras. The position type, basically fixed, is the only one that I would use to make a track camera. You have the blimp camera, chopper camera, chase cameras, on car and in car. So fixed is the one normally I use for the track cameras. Aim type, you can select whether or not you want to focus this specific camera towards a car. If you select at car, the focus is always so that your car or the car in focus is always centered in the camera. If the focus is set to add group, then it means if you're alone on the track, it works exactly like the add car thing. But if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 cars right next to you, it automatically tries to gather up the center point of the specific car group and move the camera so that as much cars stay within the window as possible in the limits of your specific zoom that you picked. The static option naturally means that the camera is not focused on anything. It stays static to and pointing to the direction where you set it to point. Usually, by default, I use if I use TV, I usually make TV1 and 2. I make 2 different camera packs. The TV1 usually is a closer zoom used for individual cars. TV2 I usually make a bit a different camera angle and slightly more zoomed out view, so that it can show a bit more action in the same camera angle if you are dealing with a huge pack of cars. For TV3 I would probably try something a bit different. I would probably do a few static cameras, few like these super far away cameras, etc. So it depends on the track, and for example, the Circuit of the Americas doesn't have any trees, very little trees, very little obstacles. So basically you could do this lap with 6 cameras, I think. Naturally the sounds of the cars on focus would be slightly stupid, because when the cars are on the opposite side of the track you wouldn't hear the sounds. But in terms of how many you could use, you could survive with about 6 cameras, I would say. But I'm gonna use more than that, so just to bring up the issues. limit shot to range is something that is used always when you do TV cameras, because this is the option that makes you this is the option that if you check this box, it will automatically, depending on what coordinate the car is in on the track, this chooses when to start showing that specific camera and when to end it. The numbers in the set start and set end values are usually, I'm not exactly sure if it's meters or yards, calculating from start finish line. So this is about 4,725 yards from the start finish line. So the 0 point is always the start finish line, but it's basically not that important. You can bypass the number issues. Okay, so the numeric values in this window are, you can touch them if you want to, but it's not, it's completely optional. Basically, you can do it with clicking and moving the cameras, etc. The aperture, this is the setting where I never usually touch. This is like, if you want to mess with it, feel free, but this is how I do cameras. So this is not the best way necessarily. It's not the optional way. It's my way of doing cameras. So usually the 8.0 is static, and I let it be so. The parabolic mic value, the checkbox basically just affects on how the sounds of the cars are like playbacked for the actual broadcast. So the level of volumes, the focus of the microphone is basically affected with this checkbox. East beyond fence usually is a value which I haven't touched because I find it pretty much irrelevant. The gyro values are like I don't see gyro values relevant for trackside cameras. Usually I just leave all these settings by default. It's not that relevant when you're making TV cameras. So zoom value. So let's start actually doing some proper cameras. Zoom is pretty much straightforward. The closer you zoom, the smaller the value, the further you are from the car itself. Manual focus, that's what I never use that. Vanish X, Y points. It's basically sort of funny from its actual behavior, because it basically just keeps moving the camera away from the car. But as you can see, if I start playing back, now the focus is back again, even though I just altered it. So the vanish points I don't never touch. Near plane bias equals, as you can see, it also starts flipping the camera away from the car, but that's not its behavior. The near plane bias determines if you have, for example, a fence, a wall, or a tree, or a branch, or whatever, right in front of, between you and the camera, or the car and the camera. The near plane bias determines how much crap gets deleted from between the car and the camera. So if the near plane bias is set to 0, which by default I use, because if you set it to 0, like 0.10, which is the minimal value, 0.10 means that nothing is wiped out from in front of the camera lens. Why I use this is, if you have a camera which accidentally happens to have a branch or something in front of it while it's looking at a specific direction, and you have the near plane bias set to certain funky value, what can happen is, when the camera starts to focus towards the branch, you see the branch at the starters, and all of a sudden it wipes it out like using a razor or something. So it kind of looks funky when you have those in the broadcast. So I usually by default I set all the cameras to near plane bias minimal value, which means I can see everything in front of the camera. So if there's something in front of the camera, I usually try to move the camera in a position where there's nothing in front of the camera. And if I have a place where it's impossible, so there's a possibility of some branch getting into the footage, I will set it as much as value as I need in order to make the branch disappear in every direction the camera is looking at. So that way the branch basically gets erased altogether, so it doesn't matter after that where the car goes. If it crashes right next to a wall or something, the branch is not showing up. So that's basically the purpose of the near plane bias. The mic gain is completely up to you. The mic gain meter is the one that you used, like for example, if I set the mic value now to maximum, look at the mic dB bar right now. So it's peaking basically all the time, 167 decibels, so which is pretty much. But if I set it to minus 12, now it shouldn't peak at all. When the car goes right next to the camera or closest to the camera, now it doesn't go anywhere near the peak. So this is basically completely up to you to decide what values you want to use. For personal purposes, you might want to use higher volumes with the cameras. Personally, I usually set this so that the mic values never go beyond 127 or 130. This is because my own broadcasting PC system has volume set up so that the speech of the commentators actually clearly wipe out the car sounds behind them, so it doesn't become like a pile of noise where you have hard time telling what the commentator is talking about, or then if you want to hear the sound of the cars, if it's too low, then you only hear the commentator, which is equally frustrating for someone who wants to listen to the sound of the cars. So this is my personal value that I use. I always target it for to be a little bit below 130, but like I said, this is completely up to you to decide. So that's basically the fundamentals of the camera adjustment bars. At the below, I usually use the camera view live when I'm making camera packs. I never touch this. Key step factor usually equals that if I'm running, you use WASD buttons to move the cameras. W forward, S backwards, A left, D right. So the key step factor is the value which determines how fast your camera is moving. Currently it's set to 1.053, which gives you this kind of speed. If I now double it to about, like if I put it 4, now it's way faster. And usually when making trackside cameras, it's beneficial to have it fast by default. And when you have to travel huge distances, and by the way, when you're setting up the position of the camera, always start with the minimal zoom value. Now you're actually seeing what the camera is seeing. Because if you set it here, now you would think that the camera is like 5 meters away from the car. The camera is actually over here. So when you're positioning your cameras in order to avoid any stupid obstacles appearing in front of the camera because you're way too far on the track, you should always move your camera using the minimal zoom value. So you always see the absolute position of the camera. The reason why it has such, like from 0 to 17, nothing is happening. This is because the zoom scale is already exceeded on this level, so the car is too close to me to get any benefit out of this value. But if the car would be further away from me, any bit of adjustment would give you a feedback. But since the car is so close, this happens. But always use the minimal when you're positioning the camera. After that, adjust the zoom. So the key step factor is used for that. So the smaller the value, the slower the movement. But you can use when you're moving like a track-wise, when you're moving on the track, which is like huge. This kind of movement takes quite a while, especially when you have no cameras to start with. So what I'm gonna do right now is start using. I'm gonna do one camera at a time. So it's gonna take. I'm gonna create all the cameras from nothing, so you actually see what I'm talking about. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. But when moving huge distances with the cameras, the key acceleration is beneficial to checkbox, because if you check this one, let me show you. Okay, right now I'm behind the car. I'm gonna push S button with the key step factor on. So this is the speed I'm escaping the car right now. Constantly, the speed is static. But if I check the use key acceleration, it starts super slow and it accelerates. So if I press S now, this is what happens. It accelerates away from the car. And the smaller the key step factor is, the slower it starts. So if I place this to 1.0, now it starts slowly but accelerates equally. So like this. So this is extremely useful when you're moving huge distances in a short time. But when you're fine-tuning the position of the camera, always remove the key acceleration, because then you have a lot more freedom of movement. Okay, so this is the individual camera settings window. Now if you look at the group section, it actually shows the name of the group, which is located over here, TV1, and the same name is here. So if I change this to TV10, now it says TV10 over here, but I'm gonna put it TV1. Okay, so so this is it for individual camera, and this is for that group of cameras. So we have group of cameras called TV1, and it has option enable automatic shot selection. This means that if I have two or more cameras with the set start and set end values, if I have two or more of these inside this camera group, it means that according to where the track is, this camera pack automatically selects the best and closest, the most relevant camera to show that current car. But if I don't have any cameras for that, let's say I would have a camera on the main straight, and I would have camera at the backside of the track, but nothing in between, and the main straight camera is only designed, or it has the start and end values to only show the main straightaway. And then I would have the similar camera only showing the hairpin braking points, and that's it. What happens then is that it automatically goes into the very first camera in the group, while the car coordinates are within either of the cameras. So if the car is, let's say, in turn 3 or 4, it's then located in a position where either camera has the coordinates set. So neither of the cameras are then focusing on that camera or in that car. So in that stage, the camera set gets confused, and it automatically jumps into the very first camera, which in here is cam TV100. It automatically shows this camera. It doesn't matter if it's looking at a building or whatever. It's using this camera until it finds a coordinate where one of the cameras in the pack applies. So after that, it automatically jumps into that specific camera. Yeah, I'm not using arrow keys to change position on the camera, so I'm using WASD in the keyboard. It's basically the same as the arrow keys, but they're not arrow keys. Okay, so you can double click these cameras, and it works. Like, this is a good example. In camera 13, this is the identical. This is the optimal camera right now. As you can see, it's marked in red. In the list, this camera is marked red. This means that the car is already within that boundary. So this is what is automatically enabled. If I double click, this double clicking, by the way, only works while I'm in a pause mode. So when the automatic shot selection is enabled, I can only switch like this while the active camera is always displayed in white. The red camera is what I'm currently watching. But if I watch camera 1 right now, you can see that the car is currently in the area of TV113. this white, the white text shows what camera is currently active. The red color shows what I'm currently watching. But now if I select camera 5 and I click play, it automatically jumped into the 13 camera because the shot selection automatically sees that it's within the range of this camera, so it jumps in there. So I can only flip these cameras while I'm in pause mode. So what you can do is you can manually adjust. iRacing has done 14 different cameras for the TV1 pack. So what you can do is you can wait until the car arrives to each specific camera, and then you can fine-tune the position of those cameras. Or you can take one camera, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to use one camera and start with that. I'm going to delete every other camera in this group, and I'm going to start using my own ones. And that is only because I dislike very much the how iRacing makes its basic camera packs. They are far from rational for broadcasting purposes. So I'm going to start at last turn. I'm going to let it roll. It should change coordinates. Yeah. So I might want to start the main straightaway cam over here. And don't forget that before I start doing anything, the camera coordinates, which are displayed right here, set start and set end. These values can overlap each other, which means I'm going to show it later, slightly later on, or in a second. But these numbers do not have to. Let's say this camera ends at 485.9. The next camera does not have to start at 485.9. It can start like at 400 or 300. It doesn't really matter. The only relevant difference is what I'm going to show you in a second. So right now I'm currently in a camera place where I want to start my editing. This has the fixed value, it has the add group value. It doesn't matter if it has the add group value, but anyway, this is the position where I want to start doing my own camera pack. So this is the main straight camera. As you can see, if I roll the zoom all the way back, as you can see, this is where the camera is actually located. It's in the middle of the front straight. Okay, so so the easiest way to start at this, first of all, I'm going to delete all the cameras. Like I said, currently I'm in TV100, as you can see. I'm going to remove all the other cameras from the menu. I'm going to click one of the cameras and click the right arrow, which moves the camera away from the pack. Now this doesn't delete the cameras, it just moves them over here. This shows all the available cameras. So I could drag like TV303 camera. I could drag this one over here and it would just automatically use that camera in wherever coordinate it's located and use that when the car arrives within its range. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what. You could make 5 different camera packs: TV1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you could make each individual cameras for each and every camera pack. But that doesn't prevent you from using TV3 camera in TV1 group. All you have to do is go to this menu and drag the TV3 camera into that specific group. So it's very easy overall, but you have to have the existing camera. So what I'm going to do, if I start editing this camera right now, the TV1 camera right now, what happens is I want to make my custom TV1 camera. I don't want to touch the iRacing TV1 pack. So if I would start editing the values of this TV camera right now, what happens is I'm editing, okay, let me show you. I set create. So now I'm currently, you can see the new one is located here. So this is my new TV1 camera. I'm gonna name it Johnny TV1. Okay, Johnny TV1 shows right here. So now the camera group is named Johnny TV1. If I open this drop box, you can see it came between TV1 and TV2, which actually I don't want to do it like that. Shit. I'm gonna yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna make it after this one. So I'm gonna create it after the TV3 group. So I'm gonna click new. Again, it names it new one. I'm not gonna name it like that. So now it came after TV1, 2, and 3. But problem is now I have the starting camera, which is CamTV309, and that's not what I want to start with. I want to start it with TV1000, like I was. And by the way, you can see when you look at the right hand side of the screen, you can see that the camera TV100 is active because the car is within its range, and so is TV200 because it's within his range or its range. And in TV3 menu, you have the 00 cam, which I'm the 09 camera, which I'm on board now, and that is also active. So now I have the TV309 camera, but I don't want that. I want the TV100 as a start base. So I click this one, I click left, now it pops it in here, and I remove the TV3 camera away from the menu. So now I got the TV100 as a base. Note, as a base. I don't want to actually ruin this camera, because now if I start moving the camera values, I'm actually altering the values of this camera angle, and I don't want to do that. So actually I'm going to change it to where it was. It was approximately like this. This is the starting point of the TV1 camera. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own individual camera from this camera. So what I'm going to do is I go to the camera menu. So this was controlling the groups. So I created the group, as you can see, by using the create button, and I now have one camera in that pack. So when I want to start from this specific camera with these specific values, I go to the camera menu and I click insert. So watch what happens to the name bar on the top of the menu. It automatically, when I clicked insert, it added another number to the CamTV1 group, but now it's camera number 14. So now I can edit this camera to show freely, and it doesn't alter. If you look at the group now, these are identical right now. So now I can remove the TV100, which I want to remain untouched. I can drop it off, and now I can start using my own cameras, and the first one being CamTV1_14. So now I will rename this, just so no confusions, YoniTV1_1. Now if I click insert, it'll start increasing this number, so it says TV1_2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. But now all the cameras are completely mine. Okay, so now we can start actually creating something. This was just creating the group for the cameras and creating my first individual camera. So like I said, now I roll the zoom to minimal position. Now I actually see where the camera is located. I can move it WSAD, like I said. So you can freely pick where you want to start with. And now the set start and set end values come to play, because no matter how many cameras I would currently have on the track, and no matter how many cameras would want to watch this watch the car right now, if I click, first I want to set the point where the camera actually starts focusing on the car. Okay, now I have the position all set up. I want it to be approximately here. You can fine tune it anywhere, anytime you wish, any values anytime you wish. But let's say I want to start it right here. I'll click the set start once. Now it starts blinking. Now it means the camera is completely locked. So if I fast forward, I can fast forward anyhow I want, and watch. The camera never disappears. It always stays with this camera, because now I'm currently wanting, by clicking the set start, I'm telling the camera controls like freeze all options until I actually have set the set start coordinates. So I click the set start, it starts blinking. Now I can reverse or forward wherever I want the camera to start recording from. So I don't want to start it here, because after that you would see, the first half a second you would see only buildings. So slightly more forward, out of the fence, like that. Now when I click the set start again, it changed the value according to where the car is currently located. So that's how it operates. You set the starting point by clicking this. Now you can move the car to wherever you want to start the tracking, and when you just pause the car, or you don't have to pause, but it makes it a lot more precise. So then you move the car to the location where you want to start the tracking from, and then you click set start again, and it automatically adjusts the value. So you don't have to adjust this manually. This is what I used to do manually before I actually realized that, hey, you can click this one. So now the camera is focused on this camera is still focusing on this car. The zoom value is not relevant yet right now. Then I click the set end. That starts blinking. And now I just observe the car and determine where exactly I want to change to actually show turn 1 cameras. So since the turn 1 is a hairpin, I might want to show the braking point right about... Actually, you know what? Since the first corner is a hairpin, I might want to show a few seconds of the car approaching the corner before the actual braking zone. I could set it like this, so the car would now change the camera to the other, change from one camera to another, but I don't want to do that. But since it has the banner over the track, that also makes it difficult to look from the high grounds towards the camera from the hairpin. So let's say I just set it up the camera so that since this is a main straightaway camera, you can actually see the starting grid over here. This is the pole sitter's camera, so I would probably want to make the starting camera so that it shows. Yeah, this is one of those tracks where I would probably want to do different camera pack for lap 1, because I would want to show the start so that the camera would actually follow all the way, the main straight all the way until the first corner. But since I wanted to make a camera which is not only a starting camera, I would probably want to split this in half. So let's say the car, let's say here's a good spot to change the camera. Let's set it here. So I pause it here, click the set end. Now it adjusts the value. So I'm already 275 yards away from the 0 point. So now I start moving the camera for wherever I wish, and since I want to make the main straightaway with 2 different cameras, I just set this camera to about I don't want the starting lights to be interrupting the actual footage, so I could put it I don't want to show any extra 2-dimensional spectators, so I will probably try this one. Okay, now the camera is in place where I want it to be, and now I can select the zoom, rational zoom value, which I want to use. For TV1 I would probably want to use a bit closer zoom than I would for TV2 cameras, which would be to display a larger group of cars. So if I press spacebar and I hide the user interface, this is what I would actually see in a broadcast. So now the zoom is actually pretty good. It actually shows, you can actually fit 3 wide in there and still the TV1 would spot it. Some people would like this as a TV1 camera, but personally I dislike the idea of having to look car that closely when it's a racing situation. If it's an individual car and you're making specific camera pack for just showing close-up footage of an individual car, not racing against anyone, then that's a good idea. But I just set the zoom to about 30. Okay, so now this camera shows approximately this. Like you see now, the previous camera is not set, so the car actually is following. You can see over here when I'm rewinding, as long as the camera shows 0 in the active cameras over here, as long as it's showing 0, it's not within the camera's coordinates. now it says 100, now it's within the camera range, so now it pops up. The reason why it doesn't right now, because I only have one camera in the pack, so it doesn't know what camera to use, so it automatically hops into the default one on top, which right now is my only camera. But currently this camera would approximately show this. At the time you see, now the number starts to decrease. At the time the number reaches 0, at that time another camera angle should change. So approximately here, there should be another camera angle changing. But since I have the one camera at this moment, it's not changing. But this is the view range, what I would see with this camera. And I'm pretty displeased about this moment. It comes... The car is pretty... Probably set it a bit lower. But I don't want the fence to catch in to block the car. Maybe like this. Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, no obstacles anywhere. This is a bad one because now the camera is blocking the starting lights are now blocking the car, so I might want to stop it over here. So when I pause the camera, I click set end, and again, and it adjusted the value. So now this is the ending point of this main straightaway camera. So now I'll be adding another straightaway camera, which I want to display the other half of the straight plus the first hairpin. So I'll click insert. So it created another camera on exactly the same location as the previous camera is, and with the same values. But now I have two different cameras in here, so I can move. I'm currently stuck to the TV2 camera, and now I can move the TV2 camera. So I want to move it WSAD. I want to move it to the hairpin. So again, I click the zoom to 0, so I actually see where I'm at. Oh, and one more thing about the WASD keyboard. With WASD, you get using the horizontal values. So W goes forward, S goes backwards, A goes left, D goes right. So now if I want to go higher and lower, I use W and S, but I also use Alt. So if I use Alt W, this is what happens. If I use Alt and S, it goes down. Alt and A and D are for tilting, but I most definitely do not recommend tilting. So it's bad. And if you press Control, you can using Control WASD. Those control the direction where the camera is actually pointing on, but that only works if you have a static camera which is not targeted towards the car. Okay, so I'll move the camera to the hairpin. God damn, this is a steep uphill. I keep going underneath the track all the time. So I don't want to. Well, this is a personal choice. I mean, I could use a camera which would actually track down the cars directly from the front, but I don't want to do that because that sort of destroys the speed factor from the camera view. So I wanna be in a location approximately where I could have a good view of the hairpin without having too much hassle with still displaying the speed of the cars and not having to use too many cameras. I usually make my camera packs so that I have lowest amount of cameras with the widest coverage per camera. I don't want to do naturally, this is again a personal choice. You can make a camera pack where you have 2-3 seconds per camera, but that's painful to watch for anyone except maybe you. So you don't want the screen to be hopping off from camera to another too often. So so now I would guess this is a good location. The car is behind the banner, but it's not relevant. So I clicked now the set start twice. So now it updates this camera to the point where the car is currently at, 220.9. It automatically decreases 2 yards from this value because it can't be, the set start and end value cannot be the same. So the car in reality is currently in 222.9, but since it can't be the same, it decreases 2 yards from it, so which is actually a good thing. So now I click set end, and I watch the location where I want this camera to end. You basically you should start with using the set start, set end to adjust the positioning of your cameras, and after that start fine tuning the position where and the zoom values of each camera. So I would probably want this camera to disappear over here, somewhere around here, because that stage, the pass is already completed. Right about there. Okay, that is set. I'm not going to touch the zoom value or the microphone values at this stage, so I'm just going to click insert. Now this camera has the ending and starting values set. I click insert. Again, it creates number 3 camera. I then move it to the next camera location, which probably could be it could be just this corner, because the next 3 corners are in the S's over here, so I would probably want to make this next camera to show only this piece all the way until the banner, and then from the banner it could show the entire SS from the front. So I'll move this camera to the to that corner. WASD, using Alt, I adjust the altitude. So set start again, and now you can see it shows 738.4. There we go. So that's the starting point where the car is right now. That's where the other camera ended. So now I click set end. Roll the car to the position where I want to end the footage, about there, and set end, and it adjusted it. So I'm not gonna fine-tune the position or the zoom of each camera yet. Again, I click insert. Be sure to click the insert always before you do anything else to the next camera, because otherwise you are adjusting the previous camera, which is pretty bad, because if you're not realizing you're doing that, it only causes you to actually start losing losing the stuff that you already thought you made, which has happened to me way too many times. So again, set start, let's lock that starting position, so 2 cameras are not competing for the rights to actually show some cars. And let's move the camera to about, I would say right here. And this camera is actually, this camera can actually be quite funny, because now the banner, the Pirelli banner, is not blocking the track at anyhow. So this could actually be used for very long period of time. So now the car is set, the start value is set, but now watch. This camera could actually show the entire S's, plus it can rotate and show the next corner as well. Right about there. A bit further because it's an uphill, like there. So it's 800 yards with 1 camera. And only problem now is that there's a fence blocking the camera the track right here. So what I can do is increase the altitude. Now the track is completely visible. So now it doesn't matter, the zoom value does not matter anymore, because now the entire track is basically covered. Now the Pirelli sign comes into play. It's slightly blocking the car, but I can now select, is this better one? So if this is a personal preference, that fence is not that bad, because it's blocking only a small section of that track. So it's not that bad. So yeah, this could be pretty nifty camera pretty nifty camera angle. And for the TV2 group, which I would be making after this, might actually see me using 2 cameras for the S's and instead 1 camera for the straightaway. So it's completely up to the creator of the camera group. So again, I go to the this is where it gets. I can show you. This is where I can show you the section when I said the start and end values of 2 cameras can overlap. This is where it comes into play. So currently the ending value of this camera angle is set to, look at this. Now I have multiple camera angles. This is what happens. So now the camera is still focused on the car, and the car is within the last camera's coordinates, but when it exceeds the boundaries, it jumps to the default camera because it doesn't have a default camera to use. So it jumps into the very first camera, and currently it's staring at a building. So I want to come back. This is where the camera footage ends. But let's say I'll make the next camera so that it actually starts earlier than this point. So I'll click insert camera. I want the 5th camera, which normally would be located about here at the exit side of the next corner. But I'll rewind it a bit. So the car is currently where I want it to end this camera to stop recording. So I rewind it to about here. Now I click insert camera. So now I have the 5th camera. I click set start, and now the set start value is going to be way smaller than the previous camera had in the set end. It's going to be about 1600, I would say. Now it has 80 yards. So now I have the 5th camera. I'll move the 5th camera to where it's supposed to be. Let's say we want it to be in here. Yeah, let's set it right here. And then I click the set end value, and again I play the lap until I get to where I actually want it to end. Let's say over there. There we go. But now this is where it becomes interesting, because now that previous camera, the number 4 camera, has the set end value at 1893, but this camera is told to start footage at 1817, so they have 70 something yards of combined area. So what happens? This is the part where I'm talking about. So now we're on board the TV4 camera, and look at the position where this camera stops recording. It was at the top of the hill, just at the middle of the right-hander, right there. But this is the part where that previous camera was told to stop recording. Okay. But now this is where the overlapping becomes relevant, because this camera, the number 5 camera, is already been recording for the last 70 yards. So if now I click if I rewind now, what should happen is that the number 4 camera should immediately jump back into action. But it doesn't, because now if I rewind like that, so the car was supposed to be recorded all the way up until here, but the problem is this camera stops recording at 1893, which is over here. But this camera already started recording at 1817. So now when I rewind, this camera is already active, so it stays active all the way until the set start point, and after I go to beyond this range, it jumps back into the next camera on the track list. So this is where the overlapping becomes relevant, because let's say there was a crash happening over here, like over here, and the crash would start happening back here. What I could do is play a replay which would show the cars actually getting into the contact all the way up until here, but then I could rewind using this camera angle, and the camera would not swap back into the other one. So this is where the overlapping can be important, because if there's sections on track where there's trees or buildings or whatever blocking some section of corners, you can do overlapping with the cameras just in case there is something happening in that corner, because then you can rewind without the camera switching, so you can actually cover more area with overlapping cameras. So again, I could do the same over here. This camera was supposed to stop right there, but I'll make the next camera start a bit earlier, like here. So I click insert. Now I have the hairpin camera. Start value set. Now I move the hairpin camera where it's supposed to be. WASD. And right about here. And then I use Alt S to move it downwards. Like there. Set end, click, and I play it again through the hairpin and stop right about here. Click. So that's basically the first thing. This is basically the first thing that you should do when creating camera packs. Always use the minimal zoom value to set to place the cameras to the exact correct location where you want them. And then when you have the set start and set end values set for all the cameras, then start zooming in and adjusting volumes, etc. So that's currently the near plane bias for this track is basically very irrelevant because of the fact that this car doesn't have any obstacles or trees which could cause the near plane bias to be effective, because it only affects on extremely close targets like fence, trees, branches, etc. But if you have a grandstand or something, that's slightly more difficult to handle. So now I'm going to repeat this a few times. Now I don't need overlapping cameras, or well, I wouldn't need it anyway, but I'm not doing overlapping camera in this stage. This is a pretty long straightaway, so for the Grand Prix section, I would probably want to do a straightaway camera for this specific location. The racing line goes pretty far to the right, so I could do a pretty close track like that. Maybe stop right about there and insert, set start, and then I move to another. Always remember to click the insert before you do anything with your cameras, because otherwise like I said, you're moving the previous camera without realizing it, and that can cause you quite a bit of stress afterwards. So now this is again a section where it's a matter of opinion. I could do a camera which would show only this corner, and then like from about here, which actually not a bad angle because it's a good breaking point. I could use this one and then make it switch to a different camera at the next corner. But you could also use, when you look at the corner complex from here, the corner complex could be recorded using one camera from over here. So again, this is completely a personal choice. But for a closer zoom TV1 camera, I would probably want to save the overtakings from right about here. Like that. Insert, set start. like I said, this is a tricky one when you have so many corners right after each other, but that could work out. That could work out very well. So yay, hooray for my racing lines. Set end over there. Insert, set start. We don't have that many corners left to go. So set end, and note, while I click the set end, I can still use the WASD to move my camera wherever I wish, up, down, wherever, and the set end value is still waiting over there. So I don't have to look at the the entire footage before clicking the set end. I can adjust the position however I wish. Like that. So this is, like I said, this is a tutorial where I'm creating all the cameras from nothing. So I don't have any base cameras. What you can do, you could do, is you could open up the basic TV1 cameras, and then all you have to do is wait until the one specific camera becomes active, pause the game, and then adjust that camera wherever you wish. Continue, press play, wait until the camera changes again, and then adjust that camera. So it's completely up to you. But since I've done so many dozens of camera packs from the iRacing base cameras, which suck so badly, I much prefer to actually create my own camera angles, and therefore I don't want to see where iRacing managed to ruin the cameras this time. So start value set. Are we approaching the last corner right now? Most likely. So the main straight footage started approximately over here. So I might want to set this one a bit longer than that, just so that actually no, because if I set this longer, then it keeps active all the way until there. I might have to, because of that one banner on top of the track, I might actually have to adjust this a little bit. So let's say I want to stop it there. Like this. But now the main straightaway camera is still showing, like you see, main straightaway camera comes active and it shows buildings. Now what I can do is I can adjust the main straight camera to actually start earlier here. So now I can see more. So I can set the set start value all the way until here. Or I can make the previous camera stop recording at the exit at the midway point of the last corner, which then means that possible overtakings would be shown from that angle. So I can click the set start over here, but I can still make this camera end all the way until here. So now this camera is in control until we reach that last point. So it changes now. Well, that's pretty good transition, but now if I rewind this, it overlaps, so it all goes all the way until here before it changes. That's pretty good. The banner is blocking slightly, but I I could probably go around that by adjusting the camera angle of this specific camera. It doesn't have to be over here. It can be like over here. Yeah, that's much better. Much better transition. So now I have the base coordinates of the camera set. So now I'll save the track. Click Save Track. All the camera groups are naturally saved in the same camera pack, so you don't have to save with each and every camera pack you have. So now I currently have the Glacier_COTA, and now I have the iRacing existing TV cameras along with my current own TV camera set, all stored in the same pack. So now step 2. Now now since the coordinates of the cameras are set, now we can more focus on zooming and volumes. So I want to make it like about zoom factor to about 30 for the TV1 camera. Slightly loud for broadcasting purpose. It went above 150. Maybe a bit lower. That's better. Slightly too low. I'm still seeing the fence. How about that one? Okay. It's time for this camera. Maybe start this one a bit later. So I move this ending value like here. Yeah, now it starts much. Now it starts much more rationally. Oh, whoops. Now I did complete lap already. Okay, that's slightly too much zoom over here for an overtaking spot. I might want to decrease that a little bit. Also, it's the camera is slightly high. Well, oh well, it's not high because the uphill is so steep. But I might want to decrease the zoom just a little bit. 25 might be a good. Yeah, now it covers the entire track area. Now it's a better one. You can still see the entire section of the track. Yeah, that's a better one. How about the volumes? It's a braking zone, and the volume shouldn't be that high. Yep, sub 140, that's good. That was a good one. And again, zoom to about 30. Slightly too loud. I might want to. Each camera pack should have its own specific volume, so one camera angle doesn't flip the microphone upside down. 140, still a bit too loud. Should be 140. Should be a maximum. That's a better one. That's doable. Zoom 30. and it completely the microphone gain completely is dependent on how far the track that the car that you want to follow is from the camera. So if I have a trackside camera with very close to the track, it naturally gives more microphone volumes than a car which is far away, even though the zoom shows that it's very close by. So you should always temper with the mic gains so that you look at the microphone decibel value so that it's not super low and it's not super high. A bit too close for this kind of footage. I might want to pop that back a bit. I might want to actually modify this a little bit. I could start this camera all the way from here. So then I could move this camera to be closer to the SS, so it would actually give a much better angle of it. But it's not that important right now. I can adjust it later. But one by one, you should go through these cameras, and whatever camera focus or angle you want to set them to, test out the microphone values. That's slightly loud. That's better. Now that microphone was a bit silent because of the fact that the car's acceleration point is pretty far from the camera itself. So I am increasing it a little bit. Better. This is a close-up camera, so I'm pretty sure the volumes are going to be pretty loud. Yep. Well, this is like again a matter of choice. You could have this be super loud just because it's a drive-by camera, because you have to crank it up. This could be like a NASCAR crank it up situation, where since it's still high even though the microphone volumes are relatively low. And for this kind of camera, since it's a very close by camera, I might want to focus this one on the car, not the group. As you can see, it now focuses in the center of the car. Yeah, that's better, because in high-speed footage, the group section usually gives a situation where part of the cars are actually disappearing out of the camera. These hairpins are pretty nasty because in here the footage is okay, but when it comes to the hairpin, this is where it should show a bit more than that. So I might want to move this a bit backwards. How's this? That's better. Slightly out. Yeah, that's better one. And what about the volumes? Can be louder than that. Yeah, that's good. The reason I'm disabling the user interface all the time using spacebar is because of the fact that when you're in a broadcast, this is what you'll see. So you're not seeing the interface. So the zoom needed for if you set the zoom with the interface on, and then you're doing broadcasts, the cars are actually way smaller than you would think they are. But if you're not doing broadcasts and this is for individual, like a private use, then it doesn't really matter what you use. User interface can be on. So after you got these volumes adjusted, it should be pretty good. And you should always, when you're making a camera pack, you should always make it according to what car you want to use. I mean, for example, Mazda Miata MX-5 has very different sound, overall sound effect than, for example, a huge pile of Corvettes or a lot of F1s. So if you make a camera pack with F1 car in it, then when you all of a sudden when you're watching MX-5 group with the same cameras, you're not actually hearing pretty much anything because the Miata is way more silent than the F1. So you should always, if you wish to make a camera packs so that you actually hear the sounds properly in with every car, you should probably start with low sounded cars and then see if your ears can stand when you have F1s over there. So it depends on a lot on the cars you're using or making the camera packs for. For example, when I was making a drive-by cameras for Formula 1 in Spa, the cameras were fine. But when at the time I actually tested the same camera pack with Corvettes and Ford GTs, the drive-by cameras were faulty because it had blind spots in them. You did not notice the blind spots with the F1 car because it's much faster. So, few cameras to go. Now, if I wouldn't have the automatic shot selection on right now, like in the group section, if I would have this checkbox unchecked, it would then mean that even though the cameras, the active camera window still shows what camera is active and what camera is trying to follow the car, because I don't have the enable automatic shot selection box checked, I can actually watch any camera I want statically. The problem with that is, the reason I don't want to use that is the fact that then you easily forget what camera you're actually working with. So you might end up doing more harm than good. But that's completely up to the camera creator to decide which one is the most rational one to use. A bit high, slightly lower. Ah, that'll do. 142.5, that'll do. And we're on the main straightaway. Wow, dude. That was loud. That'll suffice. And then I want to save it again. Like there. So that was pretty much a basic TV1 camera pack editing if you're creating the cameras out of nothing. Now, you can make static camera packs if you wish. The principle is exactly the same. Like now I have saved the camera pack, so I could show, for example, if I pick the TV2 camera. This is the iRacing's TV2 camera pack. Now, if I would want to make a static camera, I could, for example, let's say I want to do it in turn 1. Let's say I would want to do this camera to be static. So now I changed the add group focus to static. Now if I click play, whoopee! So the limit to shot range option is still available, so now when the car goes beyond this camera range, it changes to the static camera. And when this one is over, whoop, we're back. So the static camera, the only difference with the static camera is that it doesn't follow the car. So, and while I'm editing the static camera, now the car is not attached to the camera view, so if I press Control and then I press WASD, I can rotate the camera sideways with A and D, left and right, or I can adjust the pitch up and down, but the camera is still stationary. The camera is not moving anywhere. I'm just tilting the camera while pressing Control WASD. And I can also, with using Alt, W and S, I can elevate or lower the camera however I wish. I can make a funny, like exit camera footage here. And this is, by the way, this is where you see the near plane bias working. Now the near plane bias is set to 1.0, and you notice I'm not anywhere near the surface of the track yet. But since the near plane bias is on, it wants to wipe out parts of the track because the near plane bias tells me that there's obstacle too close to the cameras. Now, if I pull the near plane bias down, now it shows everything. So that's the difference between the near plane bias. It actually wants to wipe out obstacles from in front of the camera, in front of the car. That's why I always set the near plane bias to 0, because it always gives you the realistic view. This is so there's no obstacles on track. Like that. So that was wow, 90 minutes of creating one camera pack. Well, that's pretty much not so short and sweet, but that's pretty much the how I personally would do a broadcast qualified, or what I would personally qualify as a broadcasting camera. So first, I wipe out all the existing cameras except one. Then I insert my own camera group in here. I create my own camera group first. After that, I wipe out all these cameras off, except one. Then I use insert in this menu to create my first personal camera. I rename it over here, and then I pull the zoom to minimum always. Near plane bias to 0 because that gives you the realistic view. And then I start moving the cameras to certain positions. So always use, well, that's my advice, always use minimal zoom and near plane bias set to 0 when you're positioning the cameras. After the cameras are in place, then after they are all positioned correctly on track using the set start and set end values, then play back one full lap using those cameras, and then set your zoom values according to how much you want to see outside of the camera or around the cars that you're focusing on. And then if you have some like branches or grass or fences or whatever blocking the view, then you can adjust camera specifically. You can adjust near plane bias for that camera to wipe out the fence from in front of you. So for example, if I would be in here in this camera, I would pull it behind the fence like you see in here. This is a bad idea because now it's partially showing the fence and partially not. But now when it's partially showing, I pull the near plane bias, and like you can see, it's wiping both the fence and the tire barricades. So I would want to probably use about this. Now the fence is not blocking the camera at any stage, even though I'm standing behind the fence is not showing. But if I would now pull the near plane bias to 0, bingo, now there's a fence. So that's the purpose of the near plane bias. So always start with 0, and then afterwards play around with the near plane bias to make the scenery pleasant to your likings. So, like I said, first position the cameras with minimal zoom. After you've done all that, then go through the cameras with a one full lap. Set the zoom for each camera, set the microphone volume to each camera, set the near plane bias to each camera. After that, save the camera pack, and you're done. And you can naturally do like 2, 3, 5, 10 camera packs, different kind of TV cameras. You can make a static camera pack all together, like all around static cameras only, if you want. That's completely up to you to decide, but that's basically how I personally do it. And like I said at the beginning, that's not necessarily the best way to make them. That's not necessarily the optimal way. That doesn't suit everyone's likings, what they want from a camera pack, but that's how you position the cameras. So that pretty much wraps it up. That pretty much wraps up the tutorial. No point in keeping you guys falling asleep any longer. So I hope you, for those who have not previously made their own camera packs, I hope that was helpful in some ways. Yeah, if you have any questions about how to, or any additional questions on creating cameras or car cameras, etc., you can send me a PM in iRacing forums, and I can respond. This broadcast or this tutorial is going to be at the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, which is you can see on the screen, youtube.com/sfprivateer. That's where it's going to appear entirely. So I'll be uploading it shortly, in case someone missed the broadcast or parts of it or completely. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about making trackside cameras. So I won't be streaming this weekend in terms of racing because for two reasons. One, my left elbow is hospitalized, so I'm currently taking painkillers for it, but um, plus the fact that the WSCS series currently running has Laguna Seca in it, so I won't be doing the Laguna Seca hot split because I dislike the track very much. But I'll be back next week to do the Circuit of the Americas with a Ford GT. So um, hope you got something useful out of this tutorial, and we'll see you in just short of 2 weeks.